Hi guys, thank you for joining us in our webinar. I'm gonna start now. So my name is Mi. I'm working in an Absolute internship, and today we're gonna be talking about digital nomads. I'm really excited to have our panelists joining us today. It's Jules Costa and Mark van der Heijden. Both of them have been doing this digital nomad lifestyle for quite a while, but I will let them introduce themselves first of all. Jules, do you want to start?
Sure. My name is Jules. I've been a digital nomad since 2017. I am a digital nomad through entrepreneurship. So I own two businesses. I was talking just a little bit about this. And I've traveled, so far I've been able to travel through 3 continents. So the US, South America, and Europe. This year I was meant to go to Asia for the first time, but of course we all know what happened. But I'm taking it as an opportunity to further expand my business and hopefully make, good connections and teach other people how to do the same.
Thank you, Jules. Mark.
Hi guys, thanks for being here and inviting me. My name is Mark. I'm from the Netherlands, and I've been stepping out of the 9-to-5 since 2014. I quit my job, and then I started a project called the Backpacker Intern, where I traded my skills not for money but for food and a place to sleep at companies abroad. So I basically did all kinds of internships around the world. I worked at 32 companies in 27 countries on all 7 continents. Then I came back, started a company called Wonderbrief, which is a platform for digital nomads. And I built it while traveling the world for a few years, and it got acquired this year in February by Untitled, which is an American company who also now kind of made a pivot towards more virtual and remote journeys. And I also became an advisor of that company. And after doing nothing for 4 months, I'm now a part-time creative director at the Inner Peace Network, which is a platform where we help people find inner peace with all different kinds of courses and workshops online. And I'm also a self-awareness coach. So I help people help entrepreneurs and creatives to become more self-aware so that they can live a more peaceful and happy life. So
this sounds super interesting, both of you. I'm really glad that you're joining us today. I will run through quickly about the things that we were going to be talking about. So I want to know from both of you, what is your definition of digital nomads, especially because you have been living this lifestyle? What are the advantages and disadvantages? Since I think most of us have like this beautiful dream of being on Bali, working remotely at the beach. And I'm pretty sure you have like more things to talk about this. And then of course, the ideal profile, who is actually, made for this and who's actually more an office person. And for the students in our audience today, I have a special announcement for you guys. So stay tuned until the end and I will let you know what's it all about. Thank you. Okay, first question. What is your definition of digital nomad? Jules, you want to start?
Sure. I think that it can be defined in a lot of ways, but obviously the most important part is being location independent. So whether you choose to live, in your hometown or whether you choose to travel, I think that the first very definition is that you don't have to come into an office, right? You can do everything from a laptop.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do you have anything to add to this, Mark?
I think it's pretty clear. Yeah, it's there are different ways of seeing it and saying it. Some people don't like the term to be called digital nomad. Some people prefer to call it remote entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I think it really matters. It's kind of more like what's already been said. It's location independent and you have the freedom to travel. So
would you say that someone is a digital nomad even though they're working for a company? Like, let's say you're going to be jumping from country to country but still staying for like, in the same company, or are you a digital nomad when you are opening your own company? Because you both are entrepreneurs, no?
I think you can absolutely work for somebody and be jumping from place to place. I think that the important part is the location independence. So nobody's telling you that you have to live in a certain city or country or wherever. As long as you have that ability to move around, I think it counts. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it really depends also how much you want to connect yourself to the label digital nomad. It can be helpful. It can also not be helpful. So I know some companies don't want to hire digital nomads. And if you would say I'm a remote, worker, I want to work remotely, then they would definitely hire you. So then you just have to think like, how do I want to be perceived to land that job, or maybe convince your boss to work remotely. I've seen it from both angles. And so I think it's a great term. It kind of helps to push that movement forward. For me personally, I don't think it's important to connect yourself to that label. So it's more, again, like the location independent aspect is the most important. So I would really think about what's important for you. What do you want to achieve to have that lifestyle without connecting yourself to the label?
Very interesting insights. Thank you, guys. The second one, that's also what I'm really interested about. How did you start this lifestyle and how do you actually maintain it?
So I actually started straight off as a digital nomad. I never really kept an office job. I did work briefly in an office for 3 months, but just found out that it wasn't for me. And I started off with a company, working as a growth strategist and as a journalist. And the way that I was able to maintain it, and what I talk about a lot on my Instagram, is by raising my rates. So eventually I saw that the company didn't have any more opportunities for growth for me. And so I went off and became an entrepreneur on my own, because as an entrepreneur, I'm constantly able to recalculate my hourly rate or my package rates and make sure that I am controlling my finances in a way that makes sense for me, in a way that is compatible with my goals.
It sounds like, a lot of time management. And I mean, like you said, you wanted to have the control and everything. So it takes a lot of skills, like there are probably like errors that you probably encountered starting this kind of lifestyle. Thank you for sharing. Mark, how did you start with your digital nomad lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be somebody that always just dives into a complete new experience. A little bit reckless, I would say. A little bit too much want to go for the adventure, which is you can get to really amazing places, but there is there's also a downside in taking risks. So that's something just to consider, like how far do you want to, how big of a leap do you want to take? I think it's good to kind of push yourself a little bit more out of your comfort zone than what you might want to do. Obviously, it's always your own decision. I wouldn't make it as a rational decision. I would make it a heart-based decision. So do what feels right for you, follow that path. And that's what I did. And it definitely wasn't always easy. Definitely, never felt so lonely. I've been, broke twice. You're away from all your family and friends. It's not cool. It's not cool. And then the other side is that it's a lot of freedom, and you can see the world and meet a lot of interesting people. So the maintaining aspect was also difficult for me to figure it out, and so if I can give any advice, I would, start small, and do more research before you take the step. Not too much, because you can endlessly research and then you'll never take that step. But definitely, like, take some time to kind of figure it out. Like, how much would I need on the road? Like, how much does it cost in specific countries? Which country can I afford? Where can I go to? And then just try it out, I don't know how it works with COVID now, but like, let's say you can travel, then maybe do it a month, or a week, try a weekend alone, or 3 months. Like, you don't have to go for a year, like, you never know how fast does a year change you, right? So I would start small.
Yeah, it's true, especially with the COVID situation. Travel bans are, are very active. So maybe there's a new spin to the word digital nomad, instead of thinking about traveling around, maybe you're, at your home, but you can be working for different companies in different countries. You know, you can learn about Japanese business culture, or you can work in Costa Rica for NGO. You never know. So maybe it's not only all about traveling physically, but also mentally, I would say. That's how you could see. The next question would be, what are the advantages and disadvantages? So Mark, you already said that, you know, you felt really lonely, you were broke twice already, so it can be really hard. Other advantages besides, you know, traveling and seeing the world?
Definitely meeting new people and discovering different lifestyles. If I hadn't started traveling through South America, I wouldn't have met so many other entrepreneurs who are living this digital nomad lifestyle. So just from the fact of traveling and being open to talking to new people, I discovered this whole, you know, this whole other realm that I wouldn't have otherwise understood. And of course, you know, not only from a work perspective that you're learning what's out there, but also you're learning different cultures, you're learning what you think is normal might not actually be normal, and there's just other ways to do things. And so that's very expansive.
How did you actually meet this kind of, you know, other digital nomads? Because if I think about traveling to another country, to another continent, the first thing that comes to my mind is, how do I actually get to know people, you know?
Yeah. So I very much recommend working in hostels or traveling via hostel and just hanging out in the common spaces. I think that that's the best way, honestly, is just hanging out, having a beer with somebody and asking them, you know, about their life. The very first digital nomad that I met in Rio, and we were doing Workaway, which is a different program, and tiling. We were like putting tiles up on the wall, and he was just telling me about his tequila company that he had started and was using to fuel his travels all over the world. And after I discovered that and talked to him and found this keyword, which is digital nomad, I was actually able to find a lot of hostels that serve digital nomads. So they'll have, you know, a little conference space, and they'll host events that are like, you know, towards businesses and entrepreneurs versus just a normal hostel, which is probably more party oriented.
Are you still in contact with this person?
I still have his number, and I track him on Instagram. Yeah, we don't talk every day, but I could always reach out to him.
Yes. Mark, do you have maybe advantages about this lifestyle?
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So like, if I look, so now I'm back like in Amsterdam for the last 5 months after 6.5 years of not being in the same place longer than 2 months. And I kind of got addicted also to the lifestyle and to the quick changes, and it's awesome, right? It's kind of like a roller coaster. I just kind of forgot to that you can also step out of the roller coaster. So it's like it goes one circle and then it's like at the station again, and I would sit up front. It's like, yeah, I'll go again, right? So the guys who run the roller coaster, they started to know me, like, oh, it's him, yeah, just let him sit, you know, he's going to keep going anyways. And then I kind of, you know, it was so much that it was hard for me to stop. And now I actually stopped, and it was really hard in the first 2 months to kind of integrate and literally land also. And the last 2 months are amazing. You know, I'm really like integrating all the knowledge and the connections, and like every day I'm getting more insights and sort of downloads of all the things I've learned, you know, about the different perspectives of the world and about myself. And, you know, like I started to ask more why, you know, why did I do this? You know, why did I want to go all the way? Why did I want to meet these people? You know, why do these people live in this way? You know, why is the humor in Asia different than in Europe, right? All these different things. So like, that's kind of connected to this first point, like start small. And, you know, it's okay if you feel after a year like it's enough, right? That's again like this label, you know, I don't know if it's healthy to really attach to a label and then like, oh, now I'm a digital nomad and that's my life and that's forever. You know, like, who cares if you do it 3 months and it was awesome, you learned a lot, you know, cool adventure, you know, congrats. That was something I had to also learn because I kind of connected myself to it. And then I realized like, yeah, why? You know, it's not needed. So a big advantage is to, yeah, I always love to say like, even though it's an external journey, I believe that, you know, it's the traveling and being a digital nomad is the most powerful way to go on the journey within. So like it's the ultimate mirror. You learn so much about yourself because you see yourself through the eyes of other people from all over the world, and they show sides of you that you couldn't see when you were staying at home or staying with your, you know, your own crew of friends. That's how I really learned a lot about myself. So
I
And
really
to
like, sorry, yeah, Jules,
Oh,
please.
sorry. I was saying to add to that, like, I don't think that you become a different person abroad. Like, we have this, maybe this narrative about, you know, oh, I moved to an island and it changed my life and I became so calm and happy all of a sudden. And I don't think that that's realistic. I think that, you know, whatever, you know, problems you're working on, whatever challenges you have, you're still going to have them abroad, right? It's just you're finding different tools and different frameworks to be able to work through these things. And like Mark is saying, to be able to really look at yourself and figure out what you value, what you prioritize, and how you want to live.
Exactly. I think I like the metaphor of, you know, having a mirror. So I'm not a digital nomad, but I've been living, of course, also in different countries. And I really like the aspect that you actually get to know your own culture, like personal, but also like the culture where you grew up in better because you see it from different eyes. And by traveling and living in these different cultures, you also added, you know, you add more to your character and more for your insights and how you can present this. Thank you very much for the insights. I really like that a lot. So who do you think is actually the ideal candidate to have this kind of lifestyle?
I would say somebody that is not afraid to take a risk, somebody that is curious, somebody that wants to learn, somebody that's ready to get punched in the face. You know, not everything's gonna work out. Um, Somebody that loves to learn, you know, about the world, about yourself, about different cultures. Yeah, taking a leap, you know, it's definitely it's an adventure, and an adventure like every movie and every story you can imagine. There are different parts of a story, and this is one of those. You know, like there are things going to be awesome, things are going to really suck. You're gonna meet some, you know, teachers that will probably help you out along the way. And then with that regained knowledge, you come back and you can share it with other people and, you know, tell them what you've learned. It's basically like the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell, for the people that know it. So yeah, if you feel I would say like, if you feel the call to go in your heart, then go.
Yeah, I think curiosity is definitely a, you know, a core component, but I would also like to challenge the narrative that there's one type of person that should be that should pursue a digital nomad lifestyle or a digital nomad experience, even, you know, like Mark was saying, even if it's 3 months, because there's so many different ways to travel and there's so many different ways to do it, right? Like you can do slow travel where you stay a month or 3 months or 6 months or a year somewhere. You can do it that fast paced, you know, I'm going to buy a Euro rail ticket and just go somewhere, right? You can do it very, very frugally, and you can, you know, either trade your experiences or do work away or do a lot of things, but you can also start at a remote job and like have a pretty decent income and travel in a more luxurious way. So there's so many different ways to do it. And I think that if you're curious and if the lifestyle intrigues you, that it's worth a shot, and not to get caught up in like, oh, well, digital nomad means this or digital nomad means that. Like, all it means is that you're exploring, you know, and that, again, and that you have this location independence where you can decide, even if you know 11 months of the year you live at home, and then but you have the freedom for 1 month to just be like, I want to move to Costa Rica right now, or, you know, I want to or I want to move just to a town that's an hour away from me right now. Like, I think that there's so many different ways to do it that it's not fair to say that some people would be good digital nomads and some people would not.
Thank you. I agree. I would like to go back to the thing that Mark said at the beginning, that you should calculate your budget when you go somewhere. Would you then say that an ideal candidate is a bit older, have saved some money, or is it still viable for a young person, a student that just graduated, or maybe is doing online school right now?
You need to know where your money's coming from. I believe in that. I when I first started, I just kind of winged it. I was like, I'll just go. But it puts you in a situation where, maybe that night you really, really need like a good bed and an Airbnb and a shower, but you can't make that decision because you don't have the money for it, right? I think that having some kind of reserve, or at least have some kind of income, like an idea of, oh, I'm going to teach English, or I'm going to do consulting, or I'm going to do something online in order to generate that income, and to always have emergency money, right? Always have at least an amount that you could use to buy a ticket home if you needed to, right? Because when COVID happens, if you're stuck in a different country and you don't have, however much you need to get back, that's a sticky situation.
Yeah, I agree. Oh my God, I cannot imagine this if you're like stuck and you're missing home. And
it's happening to so many people. So many of my friends are in random places.
Just lost. Okay, thank you very much. I'm gonna ask you the very last question before I'm gonna be announce the big news to the students, and it's the advice. What advice would you give to young students?
I mean, I would say never stop learning, student for life. And I think that the traveling, you can even travel in your own city, you can travel in your own mind, you can travel in your own street. Like it's a mindset, right? So once you realize that everything is a journey, and you can use your imagination to travel. If you close your eyes and you imagine a beautiful location or an experience, then you actually are having that experience. So the more you explore traveling both externally and internally, you'll realize how magical life is, right? And that's awesome, because the more you stay curious and the more you without getting attached to some outcome or some answer, right? I always thought that there is some answer to find, like, oh, I need to find the answer, I need to know it, and I'll be there, right? When I'm on top of the mountain, there, I'm going there, I want to be there. And then I've had multiple experiences and from different perspectives what you could consider as being on top of the mountain, and it didn't make me happier. So what did make me happier is being here right now, being present, taking deep breaths, like, wonder about what's happening right now. It's like, wow, we're in a call with people from all over the world talking about this. It's incredible that this technology exists, that all of us in our separate life journeys are literally in this call is a miracle, right? It's like, what the fuck is going on? That's the kind of stuff. So I think if you start to remember that it is a miracle that every moment is happening, then I think that's the most beautiful journey you can take.
Thank you. That was a beautiful advice to all the students, and well, to everybody actually at every age. Jules, do you have something to say about this?
Yeah, mine is just to talk to people, like approach people, whether it's at the internship that you're in, or whether it's online, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, wherever. If there's someone that you admire, don't feel like you're bothering them by asking a question or by getting in contact with them. Like, every person is just a person. Every person has been where you are, like, we've all been a little lost, a little confused. We've all been at the beginning of things. So I feel like we have this thing of like, oh, this person is so successful, so I can't talk to them. Like, no, that's exactly who you want to talk to. Like, talk to the people whose lives you admire, and, start as many conversations with as many people as you can, because that's how you develop. That's one of the greatest ways to learn.
How would you start a conversation with a, I don't know, very successful person? Yeah.
Well, I try to start with the human aspect, right? Or I try to start with, if they're putting out content, I'll make comments on their content. I'll tell them if I agree or disagree. I'll you know, if they post a success, then I applaud them on the success. If they post a struggle, then I, you know, try to connect to them with that struggle. Like I don't think there's any real trick or any real, you know, there's not a copy and paste answer that you can put in somebody's DM. I think that just be human is the best advice that I could give, like, and understand that the other person on the other side, whether they're right in front of you or whether they're on the other side of a screen, they're also just people, you know, dealing with the same thing that you are.
That's good. I think it's always the first step. You're always scared of, like, you know, approaching someone, like, doesn't matter, you know, in real life or now virtually. Thank you guys very much for the advice. So I don't know if you have any questions, but please feel free to post them in the chat, and we're going to start the Q&A soon. For the students that are in our audience, I want to talk about how to kickstart your digital nomad life if you're really interested in this. So first of all, thank you very much for, you know, listening to Jules and Mark talking about the life and how they actually approach this lifestyle. Absolute Internship wants to give you the opportunity to, you know, start your first remote internship, see how it feels like to start working remotely. And we're giving out a discount of $100. You can redeem this by using the promo code NOMAD100 until October 31st for our remote internship program. Please make sure you're going to be using this promo code, otherwise it's not valid, and it's until October 31st. Okay, guys, so anyone who has a question, please feel free to send it in the chat. And again, thank you guys. Thank you, Jules. Thank you, Mark. It's really incredible. I really enjoyed listening, you know, all about your adventures in Rio or, well, in the numerous countries that Mark has been living. And I hope you guys are safe right now in Amsterdam and also in the US. And I wish you all the best with, you know, your multiple companies that you are actually leading right now. It's crazy. Anyone, any question? Okay, Santiago has a question. He would like to hear some advice and thoughts on having a good, while being a nomad, general safety, especially with laptops, phones, and last but not least, I'm really interested in founding a startup elsewhere. So have you thought about that in your travels?
Internet is definitely super important, but there are ways, if you plan ahead, you can kind of plan for when you know that you're going to have internet and when you are not exactly sure. So, you know, when I travel, I try to look at my week and I try to say, okay, well, I'm taking client calls on Monday and Tuesday, so I have to have internet then. And then the other days, if I'm not completely sure, you know, I'll wait to get to that place. And then if I don't have internet, I delegate, right? And that's what's nice about having a team and being a business owner, is that you can kind of say, hey guys, you know, I'm not going to be able to do this right now. Can we take care of it as a team? And then in terms of like laptops and things, general safety, I always have two laptops. That's what's worked for me. I have one that is, you know, my good laptop that sometimes I take and sometimes I don't. And then I have one that I paid $180 for. You know, it's like a Samsung Chromebook. It only, like, all it does is connect to the internet. It doesn't have any programs. It doesn't have like video conferencing. It doesn't have anything, but you know, it lets me check my emails. And so I kind of try to decide, you know, okay, if I'm going into an area that I'm not sure about, or if I'm just, you know, out and about the whole day, I only bring my little cheap laptop, so that I'm not worried about it.
So did you actually start thinking about, you know, opening your own company while you were traveling?
Yeah, I was. And actually the moment that I started, like the moment that I knew that I was going to open up my company, my laptop died, which is why I ended up with, which is why I ended up with this. And I know that that's pretty US specific for a laptop to be that cheap, but I do recommend kind of having both. And I was able to travel. I mean, I've taken so many client calls in airports, you know, like it's just a matter of planning.
Yeah. So basically the $180 one is your work laptop. Let's stop it like this, no?
Yeah, when I'm out and about, right? Because there are days, like, that's the other part, right? There's a very non-glamorous part to being a business owner, which is that some days you have to be inside the Airbnb the whole day, or the hostel or whatever. You have to be somewhere because you need your good laptop and you need good internet connection. And there's other days where you're just checking in with your team and it's, it's a little more relaxed. And then I'll just take my laptop, that if I lose it, it's like, okay, I lost it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not that.
Like the other one, the first one.
Yeah.
So Macy has a question. How would you say that your time abroad and traveling helps you build new relationships, and also how you stay in touch with relationships at your home base? Mark, do you want to talk about this a bit?
Yeah, sure. Great question. How do you build relationships? I think like the good thing about the media we have now is that it's super easy to connect, right? You can just find each other on social media, WhatsApp, Zoom. So that's kind of in a way easy. So if you feel like it feels good to connect with someone, then you can just keep building that relationship. For me personally, how I do it is like I don't really have a lot of expectations. So for me, it's like some people I meet and then it feels good, and it can be a super deep conversation, maybe a few days, super nice, and then we don't talk for 2 years, and then we see each other, or digitally or whatever, and it's the same vibe, right? So maybe also kind of managing or limiting your expectations, or I have no expectations, for example. For me, it's like, okay, well, if people stick around, that's cool. If it's for life, that's cool. If it's for one day, that's also cool. Like I have no attachment to that. And in touch with home base, yeah, that's a good one. What I did was mostly keeping my parents in touch with them with like group WhatsApp message, and basically a little bit more Zoom calls or FaceTime calls than what I would probably do if I would just be home in the Netherlands. Although it's also not really true that I really did that, it's more that I started doing that at the end, because I felt like, man, I'm missing some time with them, and we're all gonna die, it's just a fact. So it's also, parents get older, so even though you're choosing to be more abroad yourself, I think it's if it feels right, I think it's important to remember that, and that it doesn't matter that you're not physically there, but with these tools now you can still have amazing conversations, right? I had a few moments that I felt really, really bad, and I broke up with my girlfriend, right, while traveling, and I was like, man, and I just like, I wish I could get a hug for someone, and then I just decided to Zoom call my parents, and we had a 2-hour conversation. It was amazing, right? So it is doable. It's definitely different. So I would suggest to, just pretend that you're still at home. If you want to have a chat, call them.
Yeah, I think this experience also teaches you, the importance of relationships that you already have, instead of only focusing on, making new relationships with people that you're going to be meeting on the travels. Of course, it's really inspiring, but never forget, your parents. Santiago, no, wait, Joey has another question. Do you have any tips to stay efficient and productive while working remotely? I think that's a tip that many people can, use nowadays, especially with COVID right now, where everyone is basically working from home. Do you have something to say about this, Jules?
Get an accountability buddy. There's several, you can go on Facebook groups, you can just ask a friend, but having somebody that you can say, oh, let's meet on Friday at 10 a.m. and talk about what we did this week. It gives you, just this mental trick to be like, oh, I owe this person, even if they're not your boss or whatever. Like, you just have that. I think humans are very relational, like we were just talking about, and so just having somebody to hold you to your standards.
Yeah, I think that's also good, especially if you have like, other friends that are also going through the same thing. It's like, hey, I have this deadline, please remind me or hold me accountable. Parker, hi from Iceland. Oh, amazing. He wants to know, no, wait, actually met Mark here in Reykjavik last year. I know working in Iceland during COVID. I was wondering what other things are a big draw for particular countries for digital nomads. Mark, do you want to take over? He apparently met you already.
What's up, buddy? Wait, let's see if I understand the question well. I was wondering what other things are a big draw for particular countries for the digital nomads. What is a draw? Is it like good or bad?
I think it's like what draws you in, what attracts you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think like that, community. So knowing that there are more like-minded spirits there. So either way, remote workers and digital nomads, facilities, fast internet, easy access to adventures and nature. Yeah, Iceland is expensive, I know. So that's tough. At the same time, it's probably one of the most beautiful places on earth. So the nature is just incredible. And so, if you emphasize on what it does with you to be there, is another way to, which also kind of answers Joey's question, to be more productive, right? If you're in nature and you can just step out and breathe in the fresh air and literally so pure, the water is so good. And, that's another way of kind of promoting people to go there. And it's easy I want to say it's easy to travel from there, but the whole travel thing is kind of challenging anyways now. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we're going to be reaching the last question. It's from Santiago. He unfortunately has to leave, but hopefully he's going to rewatch the recorded version. So he wants to know how you guys manage to make international cash flows work without losing a lot of money. Wow, that's a loaded question. Jules, I think you have a lot of experience in that, especially because you're talking a lot about it on your Instagram. And check it out, guys. Jules on tap, really funny.
Yeah, I think that, it's important for you to understand how much you're spending and what your budget is to begin with, right? Like, again, going back to have an emergency fund that you're not touching, you don't touch it. Understand what your recurring revenue is. So understand, do I have a client, or do I have a job? Do I have something that month by month I know that money is going to be there? It's too detailed to go into like client retainers and things like that, but message me on Instagram if you'd like to know more. And then the other thing is, and I don't know how much this applies. Sorry, it's very loud here. I don't know how much this applies to Europe, but at least in the US, travel hacking is very, very popular. So like using credit cards to pay off expenses that you would have anyways, and then using that to generate more cash flow because you get the points back and et cetera. So, and making, I would say, good investments. So whether, that's an internship program or whether that's, like couch surfing or work away or what, like there's so many different ways to like find free housing or to do like these experiential work exchanges. And so make sure that you're making these investments, like if it's $80 or 100 or 200 one time, that's going to save you money in the long term, thinking about how much you would be paying otherwise for the full year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. Yeah, always keep in mind what you're actually giving out, Okay, thank you guys so much. Do you want to promote your Instagram account, your handle, so everyone can maybe Google you and follow your journeys as digital nomads? Or, well, Mark is now settled in Amsterdam. So you can find Jules at Jules on tap and Mark at Mark van der Heijden. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't care how people pronounce it. I'll type it in the box and then if you want to follow me.
Yeah. I butchered the Dutch.
So every Thursday I do a series on digital nomadism and starting businesses online. So if you're interested in pursuing the subject more, all the recordings are on my Instagram page.
Amazing.
I only send it to Macy. I'm sorry. Now it goes to everyone. Okay, cool.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much for, talking in this webinar, sharing your thoughts, sharing your journey, sharing your life insights. And also a special thank you for all the students that actually tuned in. I know that some didn't make it because of the time differences. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you would like to, rewatch it, I'm going to be sending out a recording tomorrow. And don't forget, if you're really interested in this kind of lifestyle and you want to have, a little bit your own insights into this, you can look into our remote internship program. I will, say everything in the email that you'll be receiving. And I hope I'm going to see you in the next webinar. Thank you, guys.